Ivanka Trump assumed her words, would remain behind closed doors, until Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett transformed the remark into a national story that left even her critics speechless. The Silverleaf Club in Scottsdale wasn't intended to be a battlefield. Yet that evening, over wine and filet mignon, a casual comment ignited one. The event was a private fundraising dinner, exclusive, costly, and shielded from the press, with just 48 attendees, mostly high-net-worth donors and Republican strategists. Ivanka arrived late but radiant, greeting guests warmly. She wasn't formally campaigning, but her presence suggested a soft launch of political ambition. The evening flowed smoothly until conversation shifted. Someone, perhaps from Dallas or Fort Lauderdale, mentioned Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. At first, not by name, just that loud one from Texas. Laughter and casual shrugs followed. One guest noted seeing her on MSNBC. Another joked she aspired to be a law degree-holding AOC. That's when Ivanka, leaning back and sipping wine, spoke. She's ghetto trash. That's all she is. Laughter followed, but it was thinner this time. Not everyone was amused. The comment wasn't shouted or scripted. It was casual, as if everyone in the room agreed. A young donor in a tan linen blazer exchanged a brief, concerned glance with a longtime Hill staffer turned consultant. She didn't react at the table, but later that evening, she texted a contact in Washington. Ivanka had said something shocking about Crockett. The recipient of that text was a mid-level Capitol Hill reporter with keen instincts and reliable sources. The following morning, she verified the remark with 2 sources. One even shared a quietly recorded audio clip. By noon, the words were confirmed. By 2:30 p.m., the story had reached senior editors in D.C. The headline went public. Ivanka Trump allegedly called Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett ghetto trash during closed-door fundraiser. Within minutes, screenshots circulated on Twitter and Instagram. Comment sections exploded. YouTubers streamed live, drawing parallels to Mar-a-Lago tactics and demanding statements from both the Trump family and Crockett. In her D.C. office, Jasmine was catching up on committee work. Her chief of staff, Andre McMillan, entered silently, handing her his phone. She read the headline twice, slowly. She didn't scream or throw the phone. She simply said, "So she thinks I'm trash." Andre sat across from her. "She thinks she's safe behind a $2,000 per plate closed door," he said. "But someone in that room wanted you to know." Jasmine stared out the window for a long moment, thoughts moving visibly across her face. "I'm not issuing a press release," she said. Then she stood, smoothed her pantsuit, and went to her laptop. "Schedule me for MSNBC Live tonight," Andre hesitated. "Are you sure?" She nodded once. "I won't yell. I won't stoop low, but every young black girl in this country will hear what I have to say." Outside, a slow summer storm rolled in. Inside, determination was building. Others were already watching, waiting to see her response. The hours before the segment were tense. Jasmine sat at her desk, one hand on her cheek, scrolling through endless tweets, some supportive, some defensive, some outright vile. She ignored them, until a short, shaky video from the Scottsdale event caught her attention. 20 seconds of muffled voices, then Ivanka's unmistakable words. "She's ghetto trash." That's all she is. Jasmine didn't need perfect audio. The intent, the condescension, and the words themselves were clear. She tossed the phone onto her desk. Andre leaned forward. "We knew it was real. You didn't need to hear it yourself." Her voice remained steady, though her tightly gripping pen told another story. Andre offered her a granola bar. She waved it off. "I'll eat after I speak," she said. "Are you sure you want to do this live?" He asked. She nodded. "I want America to see my face, hear my tone. No room for misinterpretation. If she calls me trash again, so be it." Andre hesitated. "They'll twist it. They'll call you the angry black woman, say you're dramatic or unhinged." Jasmine faced him directly. "Let them try. I've read contracts under cross-examination. I've argued federal cases with 2 hours of sleep and 3 minutes of prep. I've been insulted to my face, but I've never stayed silent. Not once." The room held a brief, heavy silence before she added, "Let me show them how trash talks." Both cracked a small fleeting smile. An hour later, Jasmine Crockett was in the green room at MSNBC's DC studio, getting her makeup touched up. No prep questions, no scripts. She didn't want them. The producer asked twice. She declined twice. Her segment had been moved up after a sitting senator canceled. Perhaps the Ivanka story would come up, but that was fine. More space for her backstage, more control over the moment. She stared at the floor. Her breathing was steady, controlled, intentional. Then she muttered under her breath, "Trash doesn't break. It bends, it burns, but it doesn't break the floor." The manager gave her a 2-finger countdown. They went live. Jasmine sat across from host Carla Mendes, who looked both tense and grateful. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is here with us tonight. Thank you for making time, Carla said. Jasmine nodded. Happy to be here. Carla did not waste time. You've seen the article, heard the leaked audio. The phrase ghetto trash, allegedly used by Ivanka Trump, has been trending all day. What do you want to say? Jasmine met her gaze evenly. I want to say that those 2 words, ghetto trash, have a long, painful history. It's not hers to use, but she clearly felt comfortable using them. For the next 4 minutes, she spoke slowly and firmly. She explained how words like ghetto had been historically used to confine communities, while trash labeled anyone who raised their voice against injustice. She did not yell. She did not curse. She did not raise her voice. When you say ghetto trash, what you're really saying is that someone doesn't belong in the room. But here's the problem. They can't keep the door closed anymore. So instead, they try to shame the people walking through it. Carla appeared stunned, but Jasmine wasn't finished. And if being unapologetically black, smart and sharp-tongued makes me trash, then maybe America needs to look in the mirror and ask itself who took out the garbage before me. Carla blinked, hesitant to interrupt. Nothing more needed to be said. Jasmine removed her microphone and finally opened the granola bar she had been holding. She did not smile. She did not relax. She simply said, "One down." Outside the studio, the story had already begun spreading. The clip hit social media before Jasmine left. A production team member clipped it, added subtitles, and posted it to the network's social account. Within 20 minutes, it had over 400,000 views. By the time Jasmine's car turned onto Constitution Avenue, her phone was vibrating nonstop. Mentions, missed calls, group chats, all lighting up like fireworks. Andre glanced at the screen. "You broke the algorithm," he said. Jasmine didn't respond immediately. She watched the clip herself, studying her face and tone, not with vanity, but with the precision of a courtroom lawyer analyzing evidence. "Clear," she muttered. "Did my words land?" She looked up. "Play it again," Andre smirked. "You've already watched it 5 times. 6. He tapped the screen, and Jasmine sat in silence, arms folded, letting the clip play once more. "I meant every word," she said quietly when it ended. "Oh, we know. America knows." By morning, the clip had over 3.8 million views. Celebrities reposted it. Professors cited it. Political analysts called it measured, razor sharp. But beyond politics, the segment resonated with people in classrooms, barbershops, and church groups across the country. In South Dallas, a middle school teacher played it for 13-year-olds, asking, "What do you think she means by, 'they can't keep the door closed anymore'?" In Oakland, a barbershop played it on loop. A man said, "This isn't just politics. This is about how we're seen." In Grand Rapids, Michigan, a retired postal worker shared the clip with her church group, saying, "We need to talk about this Sunday." Of course, not all responses were positive. Jasmine's inbox filled with racist insults, mocking memes and messages accusing her of playing the victim. She deleted most, but one stood out. A DM from a woman in Fort Myers, Florida. "I used to vote red, but the way you spoke, calm, clear, real. I've never seen anyone talk like that on TV. You didn't back down. I needed to see that. Thank you." Jasmine showed the clip to Andre. "You think she's real?" he asked. She nodded. "People like her are out there. They just stay quiet until something wakes them up." It wasn't just voters noticing. On Capitol Hill, her fellow representatives, many of whom kept their distance publicly, began texting her privately. Some sent clapping emojis. One simply wrote, That was fire. The most unexpected message came from a Republican staffer. No name, no title, just a burner email. We've heard worse in rooms like that. You're not overreacting. Stay loud. Back in Jasmine's office, Andre began sorting interview requests. CBS wants you on their morning show, he said, scrolling. NPR, even BBC. I'm not doing a media tour, Jasmine replied firmly. One appearance is enough, Andre raised an eyebrow. Seriously? Let the clip speak, she said. I said what needed to be said. If I keep explaining it, people will start picking it apart. She paused. So what do we do now? We wait, she answered. We watch who stays quiet, who tries to twist it, and who shows up when it counts. Andre closed his laptop slowly. You realize Ivanka still hasn't said a word. I know, Jasmine said. That's silence, not power. That's strategy. She's waiting to see if it dies down. Andre leaned back. Think it will? Jasmine walked to the window. Outside, protesters were gathering near the Capitol steps, holding signs that read, "We are not trash. Speak loud." Stand tall? Andre suggested. No, she said softly. Not this time. By Friday afternoon, the story had grown beyond a trending clip. It was now a national conversation. Cable news played Jasmine's interview on a loop. Pundits analyzed every sentence. Conservative talk radio dismissed it as a publicity stunt, but even some commentators couldn't deny her composure. She didn't raise her voice. One Dallas AM host said. She looked straight into the camera and handed out a political lesson. Old school style. That isn't easy to deliver. Social media told a different story. Hashtags like "NAR we're not trash," "NAR speak loud," and "NAR stand tall" trended for over 24 hours. TikTok creators used her speech as background audio for videos showing graduation walks, courtroom victories, neighborhood cleanups, and street protests. A video from a single mother in Gary, Indiana went viral. They called us ghetto, too. Said we'd never make it. But look at my son. First in the family to go to college. Reverend Crockett speaks for people like us. In Los Angeles, an artist painted a mural on the side of a laundromat featuring Jasmine's face, and the quote, "If I'm trash, then America's had a sanitation problem." Someone else printed the line on t-shirts. Just like that, a movement had a tagline. The impact extended beyond culture. It was financial. Jasmine's campaign donations tripled in 2 days. Grassroots contributions poured in, $10 here, $50 there. One woman from Minneapolis sent $317 with a note. "It's all I had left after rent, but you're speaking for me." Even two longtime Republican donors, tech entrepreneurs from Colorado Springs, publicly said they were reconsidering support for the Trump family. One wrote, "When language like that goes unchecked, we all lose, even inside Republican circles." Panic spread through closed-door meetings in Palm Beach. A senior strategist snapped at staff. Why did she even say it? Even thinking it is bad politics, but saying it at a table full of donors? No one had an answer. Ivanka remained silent. Her pre-scheduled social media posts continued, glossy smiles intact, with no mention of Jasmine, no denial, and no apology. The silence was louder than the insult. Meanwhile, back in Washington, Jasmine avoided the cameras. She didn't hold another press conference, didn't flood her social media. She returned to work. Briefings, committee hearings, constituent calls, as if the world hadn't shifted. Still, people found her. At a coffee shop near the Capitol, an older man approached while she waited for her order. "You, Crockett?" he asked. She nodded cautiously. He held up his phone, paused on her face from the clip. "Watched this last night 3 times. You made me think about my own daughter. I'm proud of you." Jasmine blinked, caught off guard. "Thank you, sir." He tipped his head. Make him uncomfortable. That's how change starts. Back at her office, Andre was sorting through emails. "You've got over 23 unopened messages, and that's just today. Filter by name and organization." "Not the high-profile ones," Jasmine said. "Give me the teachers, the single moms, the people who rarely write to anyone else." Jasmine had always known politics was performance. But this felt different. She wasn't building a brand or chasing viral attention. She had struck something deeper, something America had long ignored. As she walked home, heels clicking on the pavement, a group of young people on a corner started clapping. She waved, humbled, and kept walking. She didn't have to say a word. Meanwhile, Ivanka's silence was no longer a strategy. It was starting to look like surrender. The weekend passed without a single statement. No press conference, no denial. Her social media continued, polished and pre-scheduled, featuring a beach photo with her kids and the caption, "Grateful for this beautiful weekend." The comments told a different story. Thousands demanded an apology to Jasmine Crockett. Screenshots circulated widely by Monday. The silence wasn't neutral, it was damaging. Even allies were uneasy. At a Republican fundraising brunch in Charleston, a longtime donor murmured that the situation could have been mitigated if she had addressed it, even privately. Ivanka's advisors were divided. Some urged an immediate denial. Others suggested doubling down and claiming the audio was fake. Another group recommended waiting it out, assuming the media would move on. Ivanka believed the Trump name was strong enough to weather the moment. She had endured scandals before, hadn't she? But this was different. The insult wasn't about policy or taxes. It was personal, loaded with history, words that couldn't be ignored once spoken. In contrast, Jasmine remained intentionally silent. Reporters camped outside her office, but she waved and said nothing when asked for comments. When prompted, she smiled once and replied, "Watch the clip again." The balance of power was quietly shifting. Ivanka, whether she realized it or not, was losing ground with every passing hour of silence. Fox News attempted to run cover, claiming the leak was a Democratic fabrication. Viewers didn't buy it. The audio sounded real, and Ivanka's inaction signaled guilt. By Wednesday, cracks in the silence appeared. A statement finally dropped, buried in the third paragraph of a Trump-adjacent Political Action Committee newsletter. No signature, no name. It read, "We do not believe that divisive rhetoric, alleged or real, represents the values of our donors, our candidates, or our movement." It didn't mention Jasmine or the words ghetto trash. And it definitely didn't come from Ivanka's account. The response backfired. Journalist Denise Tran tweeted, "If silence is strategy, this is a losing one." Even conservative columnist Bryce Yates wrote, "Ivanka Trump's calculated quiet is less about restraint and more about cowardice." She had a chance to respond with grace. She didn't. She had a chance to apologize. She didn't. In doing nothing, the insult felt real and rehearsed. Donors questioned the optics. Polling showed suburban women, once Ivanka's core base, turning cold. Whispers suggested she might sit out this election cycle. Meanwhile, Jasmine's silence was deliberate, surgical. She gave no interviews, issued no follow-ups. She let the clip speak for itself. Each share magnified her impact while shrinking Ivanka's influence. By Thursday, the New York Times ran a feature titled, "The Power of Saying Nothing When You've Already Said Enough," with a side-by-side photo of Jasmine at the MSNBC desk and Ivanka walking past reporters. That morning, Jasmine returned to her office and found a note slipped under the door, written neatly on lined blue paper. "I've worked in Republican fundraising for 15 years. I was in that room. I heard her say it. I'm sorry I didn't speak up sooner, but you handled this with grace. You change more minds than you know." It was unsigned. Jasmine folded it and tucked it into her desk drawer. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She simply looked out the window and said quietly, "It's turning." What Jasmine didn't know yet was that a storm was forming around Ivanka's donors, and it wouldn't be quiet. By Friday afternoon, the real shift wasn't happening online. It was unfolding in spreadsheets and conference rooms. Two major donors from Austin quietly pulled their pledged $500,000. From an upcoming Trump-affiliated gala in Miami, no press release at first, just a call to Abba, campaign finance director, "We're out." No explanation was offered, but word didn't stay contained. An insider leaked the withdrawal to Politico, which published a short piece titled, "Funders Begin to Distance Themselves from Ivanka Trump." The headline alone sparked panic by Saturday morning. Meanwhile, Jasmine's name wasn't just trending, it was raising funds. Her campaign staff struggled to keep up with the small-dollar donations flooding the dashboard. Hundreds of thousands poured in. Some donors gave more. A retired judge from Spokane contributed $12,000, writing, "I saw how calmly you handled disrespect. That's leadership. That's presidential." Jasmine read the note aloud in the office. Her staff cheered, but she tempered the moment. "We've got more work to do," she said. It wasn't just money. It was attention, voices, and faces. At a community event in Toledo, Ohio, a woman approached during a Q&A. "I don't have a question," she said into the mic. "I just want to thank you. My daughter's 11. She saw your clip, and now she's walking taller." Jasmine nodded, lips pressed tight, blinking hard but remaining silent. The audience filled the pause with applause. Back in Washington, Ivanka's team felt the strain. Phone calls poured in. Donors wanted clarity. Would she apologize? Issue a denial? Make a public statement? But Ivanka gave no clear answer. Her strategy had always been control. Control of the message, the access, the headlines. Now the headlines wrote themselves, and donors were restless. At a closed-door event in Phoenix, an oil executive canceled a planned $200,000 appearance fee for Ivanka, saying, "I don't want this trash fire anywhere near my brand." The irony was not lost. A few days later, Jasmine received a personal letter from Linda Wang, a billionaire tech philanthropist from Portland, Oregon, enclosing a $250,000 check for Jasmine's new voter outreach initiative. "You didn't shout. You didn't drag anyone. You showed strength. That's where change lives," the note read. Jasmine showed the letter to Andre in their office. "Do you know how many women get talked about like that and never get a chance to answer?" Andre leaned back. "Too many." Jasmine looked at the check. "Let's use this to amplify their voices, build a platform they can stand on." Andre nodded slowly. "This thing's not just about you anymore, Jazz." She knew that every text, every donation, every teen tagging her on TikTok, every older woman calling her office to say thank you, all of it pointed to one thing. She had become a vessel for something bigger than herself. Even as the donations rolled in, critics didn't stop. Right-wing columnists tried to frame her response as calculated drama. Some conservative think tanks claimed she was weaponizing victimhood. Jasmine ignored them. She didn't need to defend herself. The public was doing it for her. A viral thread from a political science professor in Cincinnati summed it up. What Jasmine Crockett did wasn't just a clapback. It was a masterclass in cultural translation. She took a coded slur, unmasked it, and gave America a mirror. The fact that people are more upset by her response than the slur itself, that's the real story, even inside Republican donor circles. Tensions were rising. One GOP strategist, speaking anonymously to Reuters, said, "We've lost control of the conversation. And Crockett? She's the one driving it." Even Ivanka's inner circle began to fracture. Her longtime media advisor quietly resigned, citing creative differences. Others stayed but started looking for lifeboats. Meanwhile, Jasmine's approval ratings climbed, not only among her base but across ages, party lines, and regions. That week, the Des Moines Register published a poll showing 42% of independent voters viewed her more favorably after the MSNBC segment. Among women under 40, the number jumped to 61%, according to an interview with the Philadelphia Inquirer. A former GOP donor, Robert Dinelli, summed it up. "I might not agree with her politics, but I trust her to tell me the truth. Can't say that about Ivanka anymore." Jasmine didn't celebrate publicly, but that night she stayed late in the office, personally returning calls, not from the big-dollar donors, but from those who had contributed $5 and included heartfelt notes. Just as her public image reached new heights, Jasmine faced an opposition without a name or face. It came in whispers, in shadows. The town hall in Tallahassee, Florida was humid and crowded with tight folding chairs. A handwritten sign on the podium read, "Voices that Matter." It was a last-minute event, known only to those plugged into local updates or Jasmine's low-key emails. No flashy press coverage, no national sponsors, just community organizers, college students, and everyday people with something to say. Jasmine didn't come to talk about Ivanka. She didn't even mention her name. The point had shifted. She wanted to make the moment count, to give weight to attention she never asked for. It would be her first extended live, unedited speech since the MSNBC interview. The room fell quiet as she approached the podium. Her voice didn't need to boom. "I've been called a lot of things," she began, adjusting the mic. Outspoken, loud, aggressive ghetto trash. Murmurs flickered through the crowd. She paused, scanning the faces. "Here's what I've learned about labels," she continued. "They don't define us. They define what makes others uncomfortable about who we've always been." Heads nodded. An older man whispered, "Say that." Jasmine leaned in. "The word ghetto doesn't mean what it used to. It doesn't mean poor or dangerous. It means unwelcome. That's what they really mean when they say it. You don't belong here. You talk too real. You wear your history too openly." A few claps broke the silence. It grew slowly, then subsided. "They want me quiet," she added. "But silence is how we got here. Silence is how they shape the story while we're still living it." She didn't glance at notes. She barely moved. She spoke like someone who had held this speech in her chest for years, finally letting it breathe. "They say I should be grateful just to be at the table, but they forget. We built the damn table." The applause swelled. A woman stood, hand on her chest. Someone in the back shouted, "Go ahead." Jasmine paused, then sipped water, her tone quiet and serious. "I'm not here to fight one woman. I'm here so the next generation never has to explain why their confidence makes people uncomfortable, why their voice is seen as a threat, why their truth gets labeled as trash." The room fell heavy, not with discomfort, but in rapt attention. She ended with one line. "If the price of honesty is being called trash, I'll keep taking out the garbage." The audience erupted, not with chaos, but with sharp, knowing applause, the kind that sticks in your throat. Afterward, she stayed to shake hands, hug elders, and take pictures with teenagers in HBCU sweatshirts. A young woman, barely 20, approached with tears in her eyes. "You made me feel seen," she whispered. Jasmine held her hand. "You are seen. Don't ever shrink." Later that night, a low-resolution video of her speech, captured by a college student, spread on its own. Within 12 hours, it had 6.4 million views. Podcasters hailed it as the best political speech of the last 5 years. Comparisons were drawn to Barbara Jordan and even Michelle Obama. But this wasn't about comparisons. Jasmine had stepped out of the reactive lane and into something harder to control, harder to shut down. A new narrative formed, one she didn't write, but she was now at the center of. Is Jasmine Crockett the new face of political honesty? She never said yes. She didn't need to. The more her voice carried, the more desperate her opponents became. And then came the sabotage. Hit pieces emerged quickly. Conservative blogs and fringe outlets questioned her past. Reverend Crockett's past financial disputes raise eyebrows. Who is Jasmine Crockett, really? The hidden radicalism behind the MSNBC darling. Sources were thin, claims stretched or outdated. A missed utility bill from 2011. A landlord dispute from law school. All publicly addressed years prior. Jasmine read the first few quietly, then tossed her phone onto the couch. They're fishing. Andre leaned in. They're drowning. He was right. None of the articles stuck, though the intent was clear. Cloud her name, throw dust in the air, make people squint. Then came the louder smear attempt. A primetime host on a right-wing cable channel teased an alleged recording of Jasmine making anti-American remarks during a private fundraiser. When the segment finally aired, the clip was just her saying, "This country was never built to include us. We had to claw our way in." That was it. Jasmine didn't respond on social media, yet the clip circulated. Teachers, activists, veterans, and military families reposted it with messages like, "Where's the lie? She's telling the truth and you're scared of it. Say it again, louder." The smear campaign failed in real time, but Jasmine knew bad faith never stops. It just reloads. One morning, a staffer rushed in with a printed article. "They're dragging your mom into it now," she said, frowning. The headline read, "Rep. Crockett's mother once arrested in civil rights."